In the previous video, I mentioned two words. One word pointing us to liberation, to vistas of happiness, and the other describing our bondage, our state of limitation. And the word that pointed us to liberation was no birth, no birth. And that was looked at in the previous video. And the next few verses are to do with that which fuels our bondage, which was described as dualism. And we're going to be looking into dualism in the next 2 or 3 verses. And when we look into it, there's a fundamental factor involved which fuels it. And that's the factor known as discrimination. So let's have a look at this. Verse 702. This verse is spoken by Mahamiti. Discriminations are carried on by those who are enveloped by evil theories and doctrines, but not by the Tathagatas. Pray tell me about the rise and cessation of discrimination. So basically, discrimination is carried on by those who are caught up in their heads. They're caught up in their ideas, their theories and doctrines, which are described here as evil. And they're evil in the sense that they keep us from realization, they keep us from enlightenment. So it's not that there are good theories and doctrines. All theories and doctrines, as far as enlightenment practice goes, are evil. So we want to understand how this discrimination works, how it fuels the dualism of a me here experiencing a world out there. So if we understand the process, we stop fueling it, and then we become free of it, or consciousness becomes free of it, because me is also a discrimination. So Mahamiti asked the Buddha to talk about the rise and cessation of discrimination. Verse 703. Accumulated by false reasonings, there is a combination of varieties of appearances and Vijnanas, whereby each Vijnana takes in an objective field according to its class. So accumulated by false reasonings. Again, it's not that there are right reasonings. We get caught up in reasonings and they lead us into falsehood. Now, why should this happen? It's like constructing a map. When you construct a map, you're making it accurate. It provides a certain function. It allows you to take control of your environment to a certain extent. The point though is, and this is where it's false, is that it is not the environment. And this might seem quite an obvious thing. It probably seems like it's not even worth stating. But this is the error that we all fall into. We have our own reasonings, and we mistake our reasonings for reality. We mistake all the inferences and deductions that we automatically make. We don't even know we're making them actually. We have so many assumptions. We just take it as real. A me here experiencing a world out there is an assumption. Me is an assumption, the world out there is an assumption, and the me experiencing that world is also an assumption. So what is the assumption that's being referred to here? The assumption is that there are sights. There's a me here seeing things out there. Sounds. There's a me here hearing things out there, and so on. That's the Vijnanas. The Vijnanas here relate to sensory awareness. So sensory awareness is actually an assumption. It's the result of false reasoning. So this is a combination of varieties of appearances, whereby each Vijnana takes in an objective field according to its class. We should really just say an apparently objective field. One objective field will be the field of sights, the other one would be the field of sounds, another one would be the field of smells, of tastes and sensations. And we should also not forget the field of mental objects, thoughts. Indian thinking also includes that, although Western thinking would not describe that as an objective field. But we could describe perhaps mathematics, science as an objective field relating to the mind. The mind being the sense which senses mental objects. So this is the rise of discrimination. It's a very basic assumption that we all fall into, the assumption that there is sensory perception going on. And then it proceeds, verse 704, recognizing external forms, discrimination is set in motion. As this is understood and the meaning of reality is seen as it is, the mind conforms itself to the nature of the wise and is no more set in motion. So the first part of this verse tells us then that once we've got the understanding of sense perception, then we start deciding which of these objects, sense objects, we want more of and which do we want less of. I normally describe this in terms of objects, and it's normally spoken of in terms of objects, in terms of desires and aversions. But we've got to include other people in this, because this is a huge factor. It isn't just that we desire neutral objects. We might desire certain sort of company, or we might want to avoid company. Our internal dynamics, our interpersonal psychodynamics, usually relate to other people. So rather than thinking in terms of our desires and aversions, that engine which drives our discriminations, think in terms of other people, our relationships with other people, and our sensibilities with regards to other people. Because this gets down to the heart of our situation, and that is all a result of discrimination. We discriminate people, we discriminate types of people, and we discriminate what we want and what we don't want from people, what we like and what we don't like about people. So this is quite a big one. So this is recognizing external forms. The solution, of course, is to realize once again the dream nature of the world, which includes all the people in it. So once we see this process of discrimination, which is actually the movement of the attention, discrimination hijacks the attention in particular directions. And once we see discrimination in action, we don't need to let the attention go along with it. We don't allow the attention to be drawn to certain types of people. People we like, people we don't like, people that annoy us, people that violate our sensibilities. We don't need to allow the attention to dwell on that. We can allow the attention to rest back in itself, because when the attention is not resting in itself, discrimination is happening. So when we back off from discrimination, what this means on a practical level is the attention coming to rest on itself, the whole world becoming homogeneous presence, the whole world becoming homogeneous presence, the whole world, including any notion of me, becoming homogeneous presence. There is only presence. We're abiding in what can be called a state of witnessing. And then we're seeing the meaning of reality as it is. And the mind is conforming itself to the nature of the wise and is no more set in motion. And the mind here is the attention. The attention. It is no more set in motion. Although it will be, because it's the nature of the mind. But while it's resting in itself, we are touching something eternal, or something eternal is being realized.